Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Craig Phillips.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Uh-oh, Craig must be sick.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. I do not have any public comment cards. Employee recognition.
If that's from last last Board of Works, we're going to hold off on that still.
So we will hold on the employee recognition. Clerk Treasurer claims approval.
Okay, we have the January 3rd payroll for $555,794.63.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We have the January 20th payroll for $536,093.32.
I move we approve the January 20th payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We have fourth quarter quarterly payroll, this is merit pay, for $1,926.88.
I move we approve the fourth quarter merit payroll.
Second. Sorry.
All in favor?
My job's so easy. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
We have civil city claims in the amount of $2,116,002.64. That's got several bond payments. And then it also has the expenses that we wanted to get paid in 2024 from the 2024 budgets. $2,116,002.64.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Sewage claims in the amount of $375,098.02.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
You
passes.
feel like this is never ending? Mm-hmm. And lastly, we have water claims for $257,569.07.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Clerk Treasurer.
Thank you.
Department Head Reports. Tim Werner.
Thank
Water.
you, and good morning to the board. I just wanted to update the public that our construction crew is in the middle of doing the interior taps for the Hunter's Woods project. So we were done with all the road work for the year. So we're on the interior triangle of the circle, making taps with HRP for the houses, for the lots, for service lines. And I also wanted to remind the public that we are getting chilly temperatures, and to make sure that your outside spigots are protected, any holes in your walls that will allow a draft to come in and blow on those pipes. It doesn't take long for a pipe to freeze that's not being used, especially when there's a constant draft blowing on it. So I just want to remind the public that it is getting cold out, and just to make sure that they're aware of protecting their lines from freezing. And that's all I have this morning.
And the road repair will be done?
Yeah, so I'm meeting with Nick right after this meeting to figure out what we're gonna do with the section from Kumler to 100 to Park Street. That was gonna be paved under the Community Crossings project, which is being held off to spring now. So we're gonna make a game plan on that and at
Thank
least
you both.
and at least get it passable. The section of Park from the split to Severs does have binder down on it. It is able to be traveled on. We just need to rectify it's about a foot deep hole from Kumler to the 100 West split there. So,
And once you do that signage, because I happened to be driving down there at night last week or the week before, and it'd be good once you decide to have some signage.
yeah, we definitely need to get that taken care of, and then we'll be done with that project, except for some interior work until the spring, and then spring we'll do the section of Severs from basically Genesis all the way to 100 West.
Nick Minnick, Engineering.
No other report today.
Clerk Treasurer. Jeff Batchelor, Code.
I just want to remind the public that, especially after the first of the year, you just can't throw your stuff out in the front yard. The trees we can pick up, but you get a new dresser, you want to put your dresser out front, because we're going around, there's a lot of it through the town that we're addressing, so you're going to have to call Waste Management to have it picked up.
Chief Buell.
Good morning, no report.
Chief Snyder.
Nothing this morning.
Roscoe Hoffman, IT. Bert Cook. Craig Phillips, Plan. Mark Schreiber, Park. I know you'll come through with the big week ahead.
Big weekend.
Yes, LaPorte Invitational Week is here. Games Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Civic Auditorium. 7 of the top 25 teams in the nation will be here out of the 11 teams participating. 20 out of the top 100 seniors. Really exciting. A lot of kids going to top-level colleges. We've already seen 9 players from previous LaPorte Invitationals, this is just our 4th year, so there's only 2 years of eligibility in there. We've seen 9 go to the NBA already. So, I mean, we're seeing top-level talent. There's been 23 McDonald's All-Americans that have played in 3 years, so that just gives people an idea of the level of talent when they start thinking about it. We also have promotions. We have a whiteout. The first 1,000 people on Thursday will get T-shirts to support L'Alemare. Get there early. They play at 4 o'clock. We want to pack the gym for that first game. They're on ESPNU.
Free ticket or free shirts?
Free shirts.
Free.
Yes.
Free, yes.
But we want to pack the gym for that first game on ESPNU. That's where we get our most national coverage. Want to just have a great crowd for that. Cap and J Hood from ESPN 1000, their morning talent will be there for a pregame to be able to meet with the crowd. They'll be there, help us with halftime promotions. It's going to be an exciting day having ESPN 1000 there. The Hoosier bus will be there, the bus from the movie Hoosiers, so people can take a picture of that with their family. And then it's also Military Appreciation Day, so we got tickets out at the VFW and American Legion for any veterans or active military that want to attend that day. On Friday, we've got the Leaping Legends, which is an acrobat dunk team. They'll be performing at all 4 halftimes. And then on Saturday, it's Kids Day. First 350 kids get a poster of the L'Alemare team, which they can get signed after the L'Alemare game by all the players. So a lot going on. Tickets cost as little as $15 per day. My math's not real good, but that's less than $4 a game. So lots of opportunities for people to come out Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's going to be a really great event. So we're
Mr. Schreiber, Friday, do these people perform anywhere else at that they're performing in between games or at halftime? The Leaping Legends, do they perform anywhere else?
Well, yeah, this group also performs for the Pacers. So they're part of the Pacers Power Pack, which does the slam dunks and things for them at their games. And then they kind of go around the state doing their thing as well. So pretty excited for them. And we've got a video on Facebook right now on the Civic site, the city site, the Park Department site. We can kind of get a look at what they do. So it's going to be exciting 3 days. So LaPorteCivicAuditorium.com is where you can get tickets. We do advise people to get tickets in advance for all 3 days. You just don't know whether there'll be walk-ups available. Last year, we thought Thursday wouldn't be our biggest day, and it wound up being huge, packed crowd. So get your tickets in advance to be on the safe side. Also, I just want to make sure everybody knows the ice rink's going to continue going through January. We've got 3 more great weekends. We'll have free skate Fridays and buy one, get one Sundays continuing to go. We had 133 skaters last Friday, so it's one of the biggest days we've ever had, and it was just exciting to see families out there. And then just to save the date, and the information is out on Winterfest, which is January 24th through 26th.
And ice skating, we're on record to set a new record.
We already have, yeah. We've had 880 so far this year, and we still have 3 more weekends to go. So we'll definitely surpass 1,000, I would speculate, and maybe even get up to 1,100, 1,200. So it's definitely been our best year. You know, the chiller's been great. We've had great ice all season long. Never had an issue with that. We've had a little bit of heavy rain once or twice and some cold temps, but other than that, it's been perfect skating.
How do you feel about this kind of justifying some need of skating or some type in the future other than just the rink we have?
Yeah, I think we've seen where the community wants to skate. You know, we got to make sure we figure out a good price point and make sure we're doing what we can to get them out there. But yeah, I mean, when we're seeing the numbers go up, I think that shows that people in the community want to skate. And obviously, you know, improved infrastructure, a nice brand new rink, that's going to bring more people in too. So give us a good chance to bring in people from the surrounding communities. So I think it's a positive. And I think it's something that will definitely continue going forward with this rink and or, you know, new infrastructure down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to confirm on the Leaping Legends so people didn't think it was the koshers coming from Washington School to do it. Or, you know, so that's why I wanted to clarify.
There'd be no
Next year.
dunking.
Mike Fraze, Street Department.
We're out doing some cold mix, patching. We're gonna fix some water cuts this week that they tore up. And then doing stumps, and we're gonna clean up the leaves around the curbs downtown.
And I think the other part, Mike and the engineering team are going to work together to see how we proactively maybe can keep potholes from happening and what things we can do to improve in 2025, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Andrea Smith, HR. Those department heads that do not have business before, go have a great day. LaPorte Waterline Agreement, Tim Werner.
Yeah, so in front of you, Nick Otis and I worked on this. What we're trying to do is the development on Fail Road, just north of Lincoln Way there. There's a storage place going in. I don't know if you guys have been out there. Well, they put in some plastic water main, which is not up to our construction standards for that area. We do not actively tap or work on plastic water main, so I thought it was in our best interest to have an agreement with the developer showing that our responsibility stopped at where it switched from ductile to the HDPE or the plastic pipe. Basically, it relieves us of liability if, in case there was a main break or a leak on that line, we would shut it off at the tap-in valve in the street, which would kill that whole line because we just don't work on plastic. We're a ductile iron city. We've been that way. That's how we're set up to work. And I just felt it was a good idea to have that all in writing with everybody. That way, if there was a break and we had to shut it off, that the city wouldn't be liable for any expenses that might come up from businesses being shut down because they're putting in the pipe that we do not work on. So I just thought it was a good idea to have Nick Otis and their attorney to get together and relieve us of liability in case there is any issues there. That way it's clear cut and there's no questions asked. If there's a leak back there, we shut it off at the valve and it'll be their issue to deal with.
So before we ask for approval, my concern is what's going to keep the next person from doing it? And then we say, because I'm tempted just to say, no, you put in the appropriate pipe that was asked by the city.
So I know there's been several different contractors and companies involved with this. The first company that put in the plastic kind of did it under the radar. Once we caught it, we red tagged the whole job. A new company came in, and just the cost of having them rip up all that plastic was going to be quite a bit. So we figured this was the best way to relieve liability. I agree with you 100%. During site review or any of the meetings we have, I make it perfectly clear that we're a ductile iron city. I know there's other places that allow plastic, but if you look at some of the new PFAS requirements that are coming down, they're starting to question some of that plastic. So I just thought we've always been ductile iron, that's how we should stay. And No, you're 100% right. We need to put more pressure on developers and contractors when they come in to follow our construction standards.
And I appreciate you're doing the hold harmless, and I won't speak for the other members, but I think they should have to dig it up and do it right. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Are they, because they're storage units, is there not many water lines or in each?
Well, so some of their plans show some other, I guess, strip mall type buildings going in the back. They definitely built it for future development. That's why I thought this was a good idea, because I'm not comfortable with the plastic being in there. Between engineering and myself, we've discussed it. There's slightly different views on some of that, but I'm a firm believer in ductile iron. So that's what needs to be put in our water system. And if we're going to eventually take over any infrastructure in that area or in any area, it needs to be built to our construction standards.
And that's the difference here, is this is a private development and it's their private line. So I think that's what we're really trying to make sure is known, is the city isn't going to take over something in the future. Our public works standard wouldn't allow it, but it's not a public work if it remains private. So I think we just need to make sure we're very firm about if it ever intended to become a public water main, owned by the city, maintained by the city, it needs to be built to our standard.
But what happens with one on Washington Street, say the storage units that are going in there? If they decided to put plastic, would they be allowed to?
So plastic is, one of the biggest reasons we don't use plastic is, one, we're not as familiar with how long it's gonna last, how it's gonna handle, and then maintenance and repair. Everything our crews have set up to work on ductile pipe. So instead of having crews have to change over materials, change over methods and everything to do repairs, if the owner of this business, the owner of that business knows how to maintain plastic water main, it's used a lot of places. It's not something that we use, and it's an operational and kind of strategic, decision from an engineering and operations standpoint to not go that route. So it's not that it's a bad product. It's not the product that we see as the right fit for our water system.
And it also has been tried, I know the legislature has tried to pass these alternatives, and it hasn't been able to pass at the state level. And I've learned well about unintended consequences. And what stops the next person from doing it and saying, well, you did it for them, not for us? What's the difference? So,
Well, do we have the opportunity with this particular company to say that because it's privately owned, that property and that construction, can we say you have to go in and rip up the plastic and put in?
No. So the other issue with plastic is, at that point, you're depending on a small copper wire that's ran with the pipe to do your locating. That way, when you call an 811, you're able to mark those facilities for any future digs. And just in our experience, that never works out long term. I mean, you always have a break in the wire somewhere, or something happens where you can't get a good trace on it. And that's an issue for us, because we do all of our own locating for our lines in the city. We do take that responsibility to mark those facilities. That way, when an 811 ticket is called in, everybody's confident where that line is. The rules are, no mechanized equipment within 4 foot of that. It's got to be hand dug. So having those marks true not only makes everybody else's job easier, but it protects our infrastructure first and foremost. And that's the concern of mine. And another reason why this development agreement came up was to make sure down the road we didn't take over that area in case they want to build on more. in that area. We didn't want to take responsibility of that plastic pipe on that private development. A lot of times what happens is as they expand, they want the city to take over that infrastructure, and I just don't feel comfortable doing it, so that's why the agreements wrote the way it is.
So have we had situations before that anyone can recall where similar, where someone, a private developer has put in something that's not up to our city construction standards? Legally, I assume they can do it, but where they've done this, and then either we've had, no issues, or we've had then issues?
Well, I think that the challenge, so we have public works construction standards, but then we don't necessarily have as many standards when it comes to the actual building construction and the infrastructure on site. A lot of that, everything basically refers to state building code in our ordinances. So we can't really affect anything that state building code says is fine. But on the public works side, so anything in the right of way, anything that we're owning or maintaining, we do have the ability to dictate what goes in and how it goes in. And that extends, we've had some issues too with people wanting to use something other than copper, usually plastic, for service lines and things like that. And it's a big challenge for us because, where's that line? I mean, that service line probably needs to remain copper too. But other communities do allow other materials, so.
I do realize that the copper and ductile iron are more expensive products, but there's a reason for that. Like I said, we've had good luck with ductile iron, the class 350 and 250 C pipe. It lasts a lot longer. Plastic hasn't been used long enough to see what kind of lifespan it really has yet, and we're just, like I said, we're a ductile iron city. We're proud of that. There's not too many communities that are left putting in all ductile iron, but for the longevity of the infrastructure, we feel that it's the best way to go, and I will stick to those standards.
There was a point in history where people thought it was a great idea to use transite for water mains.
Yeah, we do have a few.
And throughout the history of the water department, they've used the ductile. It's been successful. They know over 100 years of being successful. I think whenever there's a transite main involved, everybody kind of runs because it's a scary scenario to be able to maintain that. And we would hate to get down the line 50 years and have another material that everybody says, well, yeah, it's all got to be replaced now. It's all got to.
That's my biggest concern,
Yeah.
well beyond. And does the state code allow this?
Yes.
Like our city does not. And when you say private property, so again, back to if another storage company owns private property in the city, they can put the plastic in and we can't stop them.
Technically, yes. We put as much pressure on them as we can, let them know that, hey, you're going to be responsible for doing all your own 811 tickets. That gets expensive when you got to hire a company to come in and do that. So we just try to let them know of all the scenarios that could be their responsibility by putting in plastic pipe instead of ductile iron. Really, that's all I can do. I try to bring that, get that point across to them. A lot of times it's driven by money. It's cheaper to put in plastic, and they're willing to take on that responsibility at that point. That's why I think that this agreement is very good and protects not only the water department but the city of LaPorte for any future damages or issues that might come up.
Are you aware of any other commercial enterprises that have put plastic in?
A lot of them we've been able to talk out of just by letting them know, hey, you're going to have to be responsible for your own tickets. So as the water department, we mark the service lines or mains going to a building, the main in the road or wherever that connection is, all the way up to the building. And with plastic materials, we just can't do that. So by state law, they still have to have those facilities marked within a timely manner, and like I said, that does get expensive. So we just try to explain to them what those costs might be if they don't use the ductile iron. But like I said, the best solution I can come up with working with Nick Otis was this agreement just to protect our the city and the water department from any issues that might come up. I didn't want to be held responsible for if there was a break at one business, the other business has to be shut down because we shut them off. I didn't want that to come back to the city, so with
But
And it's not an issue yet. It's just a potential future issue.
Yeah.
so that potential, if
It's being
there's,
proactive
Yeah.
to try to eliminate, and this is really our only option to protect ourselves. We don't have any other
Yeah.
means of,
the potential future businesses or whatever else, like you said, they've got plans for other potential, whether it's a strip mall, whatever the case might be, that could then affect any other business that would come in to that property.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and what's the risk that if there is a problem along that line, that there's any, whether it's PFAS or whether it's something else, backflow or whatever, what's the risk that there's a problem for anyone else who's on the line? Like, let's say prior to the point where there's a problem, you shut it off, is there a risk to anyone else who's along that line?
Anybody that would be off the line where the tapping valve ties into the city main to feed that development would be shut off at the street, at that tapping valve. So everybody downstream from that line would be out of water. Yeah.
So not just that property, but everyone who's along that line?
In that development, yeah, so it's all.
In the development?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in the
Yeah.
development.
Did we have costs, did we have to do things from your department to connect with them? Or
No,
was
so
this-
they pay the tapping fees and stuff, and because of the tap being in the road, that's where I was able to say, hey, this has got to be ductile iron from here at least to your property line. That way we don't have issues under the road. That's still in our realm of having authority to do that. So I made sure that they ran the ductile under the street until that pipe starts on their property. That way, there's a defined line from where the ductile iron and the plastic starts, and it's at the property line.
Do we have an opportunity to raise the fees on taps that do not use the appropriate product?
Well, so the tap was made with ductile iron. So there wasn't any other materials made in the tap or underneath any city property. We made sure that was all up to our standards with the ductile iron. So like I was stating, none of the plastic starts till after the property line. So everything in our area from easement to easement is protected by being ran in ductile iron. And it was done under our watch and with our construction standards to make sure that the road cut and the pipe underneath the road is as good as we can make it.
But even onto their private property, we could charge an upcharge if you're not gonna use what the city requires for tap fees.
That's kind of a tough one. I'd have to check with Nick on that, on the legality of that. Basically, a tap is a tap. If it's a 8-inch main, they're making a 6-inch tap on it. There's fees in there for that. We use stainless steel tapping sleeves and tapping valves that only hook into the ductile at that point. So that's what they're quoted. That's the only thing that we're gonna bring out that's gonna work. We just don't carry the plastic pieces.
So it seems to me like there's many instances where we have someone come to the board or maybe potentially even the council with, we got this problem now. When the problem was because something was done 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago that was a bad idea, and then they're asking for assistance and help. And I guess to me it seems
Basement backups.
foreseeable that this will come back on the city at some point. I mean, I know it's hard to really kind of judge and forecast this, but what do you think that likelihood really looks like?
Well, so what concerns me is, we go to a lot of AWWA meetings and training seminars, and you hear all these horror stories about plastic. New Buffalo had a crack on a line. They get down there to repair it, then it turns into a lateral split that runs along the pipe on the top, and enough water came out of that pipe to wash 2 guys out of the hole that they were working in, and that's just uncomfortable for me. I don't trust plastic. I've seen it split many times, different directions. Ductile iron, we have That and cast, we have plenty of pipes in the city that are 100+ years old that are still flowing water through them. Yeah, we do have tuberculation problems, grabbing the minerals out of the water and kind of getting, like stalagmites and stuff inside the water. That's tuberculation. You have that, but that pipe's lasted 100 years. That's a long time. That's
I mean,
That's where our confidence is in ductile iron pipe.
I mean, I have a real concern about this for all the things that we've just talked about. And you mentioned kind of, Mayor, that what's to stop the next person from saying like, oh, we can because someone did it. They couldn't be stopped from doing it. And then eventually what's happening is everybody's doing it to save some money up front and then causing potentially the city, well, themselves, any other business who might come to future development, right, when someone initially makes that decision for problems down the road.
But it's
Although I don't know
interesting then
legally
that
if we've got
the
to.
state would, right, that the state would allow those construction materials. Does their liability insurance end up being greater? I mean, I'm trying to understand the repercussions of, they're saving money in one aspect, but it will cost them at some point, so insurance-wise or,
And I don't know the answer to that. I just know, when developers come in, they're looking for the cheapest way to get out, and then they sell the property to someone else, and it just seems
Then
like
they have a
that.
problem, they come back here and
That
say,
happens
"Hey,
more
it's
and
not our
more.
fault," right?
And it just made me nervous, and that's why Nick and I got along with their lawyers and their development, and just wanted this in writing because of these issues that we just have talked about. It is a concern.
And we've been fighting to upgrade our standards all across in whatever we do. One option could be to hold this till the next meeting. When Mr. Otis is back, we can talk to him to see what options there are to make sure.
if there's any other.
Yes.
Yeah, and I talked to Nick this morning. He gave me a call once he realized he was going to be at Board of Works. He felt more than comfortable with his agreement. He felt like this is the only thing we could do at this time. You're more than welcome to talk to him. I thought he sent you guys an email. He said he was sending an email out. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I think we might be seeing more and more of, and we just have to have a game plan where it doesn't affect the city or the water department to be responsible for this. It's easy to get homeowners to run the copper, because we tell them the same thing. Hey, if there's an 811 ticket here, you're going to have to call in to get it done. And once they realize those costs, we usually don't have that problem. So we do allow some of the service lines that are over 100 or 200 foot long to do some plastic once it gets up closer to their property. That way it is their responsibility, because I understand that is expensive. I mean, copper, 1-inch copper is $8 a foot right now. That's expensive to run a service line when your house is set back so far
Until
from the
there's a
road.
problem and there's a bigger cost. of the problem.
And that's how I feel about it. Not everybody has that view. Not everybody looks into the future. They're looking at the price tag right now. Yeah, the projects we do in-house cost the water department and the city more money because we use the ductile iron pipe and fittings, but we're not out reworking stuff that we put in the last 10 years either.
How do other cities address these issues? You mentioned that you had gone to conferences or
With these agreements.
with these agreements.
So a lot of the, especially the new, Dyer, for instance, is all HDPE. They're putting in all plastic mains. It's something that they felt as a community that they were willing to take that risk and go with plastic because they can get more pipe per foot put in compared to ductile iron. As a city and as a department, we're not willing to take that risk. I understand it costs more, but we've always talked about building for the future and longevity of our system, and that's what we do.
And we're not Dyer, so I'm
That's
worried
right.
about LaPorte. Is
I
there
was
a-
just trying to understand what other
No, I
cities
mean,
might be
from his
doing.
perspective.
Yeah.
But
You
is there,
you have a motion and a second, so if you want to table it, you'll need
do you
to
want
make a motion to table
update
it.
the table, or do you feel comfortable that this is our only option?
I don't think there's any harm in waiting 2 more weeks. Is that true, Tim, or do you need this to be done more
To
quickly?
tell you the truth, it doesn't matter to me. I didn't want to hold up the progress on the construction site, but that's kind of what happens when you use materials that we're not okay with. So I don't have a problem with holding this up. If we want to talk to Nick Otis about it again.
I would like to hold it up
Yeah,
if possible.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
I agree.
There's no time crunch for the city or the water department to get this agreement.
And this would give us an opportunity to talk to the developer too.
Yeah.
Of a face-to-face.
Mayor, I think so you brought up potentially an additional charge for this, because I think to me that's what helps move sort of economically, the risk that a developer is taking, kind of, you pointed out, right? They develop it, they sell it in 5 years, they're gone.
Someone else's problem.
And then really it's someone else's problem, and it's highly likely it becomes the city's problem. So I think that economically, kind of what you're suggesting, if that's possible, I think that's maybe a solution where, you take that risk, and now it's not just all put on, it's not kicked down the road, but that risk is then taken financially by whoever has it now, whether it's the developer or someone that buys it, and they will likely be able to see that. And I think that's how we can kind of maybe take care of, anyway, I don't know if that's possible, but I think we should look into it.
And this is an individual from Pennsylvania?
Is that the heart? Yeah, that's where they're out of, is Pennsylvania.
And we've seen what happens with rentals from out-of-state rent, and in-state, but rental owners that come in, do their thing, and get out, so.
When we realized that there was plastic pipe being put in, we did red tag the job for, man, I think it was shut down for a good 6 months until a new developer came in, or a new construction company, and was willing to sign this agreement to keep the pipe in the ground. Because that's the stance we took, is I'm not allowing you to hook up to the main until there's ductile iron out there. So the engineering red tagged the job because of it.
Thank you, Nick.
And then, and actually, it's another contractor in town is the one that gave me the call and said, hey, what's all the plastic pipe doing out there? Because he knows that we don't allow it in our system. So that's how we were kind of triggered by it. They kind of were trying to fly under the radar. There's not a whole lot of city traffic on that section of Fail Road. It's kind of at the end.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So do I have an updated motion to
Table?
table?
I will make a motion to table it.
I second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Andrea Smith, job descriptions.
Good morning, board members. Andrea Smith, HR Director for the City of LaPorte. Just want to give you a little rundown on how these job descriptions were crafted. We worked with a firm called Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy out of Muncie, Indiana. They do most municipalities and county jurisdictions doing job descriptions, salary studies, and they are the one that also crafted our salary study. It starts with questionnaires going to every employee that is going to have a job description done. We want to make sure that they understand their position and see it from their point of view first. If they don't understand the job description, it's going to be unfortunate for the department head down the road. Those were completed and sent to each department head for review. So now we have the employee and we have the department head looking over what the employee wrote. Between the employee and the department head, the jobs were crafted for review, and the department head and myself reviewed the final product. I finalized and formatted each job description. I tried to make them all uniform. It looks a lot better if we have it that way, and much more professional for all of us. Upon your approval, each employee will read the job description, sign the job description along with the department head, and those will be placed in their employee files. So there's no question that they didn't understand what their job entails. Water and wastewater are going to be done at a later date. We're working on a few things with both of them. And then clerk treasurer hers will be done at the next meeting, presented at the next meeting.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I appreciate you taking the time and doing this the right way.
Thank you. It was,
I know it's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work, but we're almost there.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
And it's, again, setting up for the future and having everything in place to be exactly as it should be.
Right, and we have all signatures, and again, this is a great refresh for every employee.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Board.
Roscoe Hoffman.
Hey, man, sorry. I thought I was at church.
Are you okay?
For a moment. No, I thought I was at church. I was about to start
He was gonna
preaching.
start preaching.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at, if you want to look at this together, you can look at this together. These are two separate letters of consent for funding. The funding is through the state, through the IoT office. There's a grant through the state. It's the SLCGP, the State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program. And what this does for us is it will fund our Know Before, which is the cybersecurity phishing program that we use. And then it'll also fund our CrowdStrike application that we use already. CrowdStrike we're already using, but that's something through, you gotta be kidding me, not Think Tank, Proven IT. But so what we're doing is we're switching it to actually go directly through the state. We had talked about this before. So now this will be going directly through the state. The funding would be directly through the state. The SOC, which is the security team, will be directly through CrowdStrike as well. And we'll all be working together. So what I'm asking for you is just an approval for it, DocuSign for both of the documents.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
By having it go through the state, is there any, do you think there's any additional risk? Because the state is probably a bigger target, sort of, than the city?
So that's a valid question. So being that it's going through the state doesn't mean that the connections are through the state.
Okay.
Everything will still stay the same, how it's connected. So even if, let's say, Indianapolis is hit with something, our connection and our setup and functionality is still here.
Protected,
Yes, ma'am. So again, and
separate in that regard.
in that regard, yes. So again, the protection it'll, like the issue that was previously with CrowdStrike, that was with the entity itself. So that didn't just affect the state, it was global.
Further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that did cover both letters. Thank you, sir. Correct?
Yes.
If possible, yeah.
Yep.
Unfinished business. Remember the basketball tournament? And I probably had more text if Carmelo Anthony is coming back. And I have confirmation in text that he's planning on it. I think Friday and Saturday, so he will be here, so you'll want to get out. And you know what was nice? Everybody left him alone to watch his son, well, except Stan Maddox. We were trying to pull him back away, but besides that, everybody enjoyed just having him there, and it should be a great weekend, so don't miss it, especially if you're a basketball fan. Do take care of your health. It's running rampant, different versions of different things, and stay healthy, stay safe. And I do appreciate the board looking at this water line agreement, because you have all spent, and our department heads have all spent enough time setting a new standard, no matter what their department is, and really taking it serious what LaPorte looks like and does. So I would just ask, the legislature goes back into session Wednesday, tomorrow. Please pay attention to any of the property tax bills, and I'm sure it has to be over the holiday season. I'm sure all of you have heard from people that want their property tax bills lowered. No?
Nobody wants it raised.
But no one said lowered, right? So I think they're trying to solve a problem that does not exist right now, so we'll have to keep tabs on that. But people do want their police and fire, and they do want to feel safe in our community. So I've reminded our local legislators of that information. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.